Hi everyone, welcome back. I want to show you something I've been working on. This might be a bit out of left field compared to some of my recent projects, but recently I've been building a system to help me get over my decision or my choice paralysis as a creative. I find that sometimes I have the desire to work on something, sometimes I don't. When I do have the desire to work on something, if I tell myself what to do in very harsh and specific terms, like do something good for the algorithm, then I won't do it. But at the same time, if you let yourself be too freeform with what you want to do, then you'll default to like the lowest resolution task. I think that's an ADD thing. You know, you put off the big things, you do the small things instead. So I built this system called the guide that tries to find the middle ground there, and instead it just puts something in front of me to do. It's a great thing for creative exercises, especially if you're learning 3D. For me, I'm doing it in the context of products and resources for Blender. So I put the system to the test, and one of the first things it gave me, putting aside all the other things I need to do, there was an old project to do with container houses and container homes and basically asset pieces to quickly and modularly piece them together. And I started working on it like years ago, but I just never carried on. So the guide system was like, hey, carry on, put it in front of you, see what happens. So that's what I've been doing. I've spent a fair number of hours just doing some finite modeling. And to be honest, I haven't done any modeling in ages, like not proper modeling. So it's been fun, like actually just playing around and making things again and pulling some like old assets out of old files and just seeing what I can do with them. So I don't know why I chose to do like container houses in the past. I think it's just because I like the kind of beautiful simplicity of them. So the intention of this will be when the project is done, in quotes, when it reaches a minimum viable product, it will just be a little asset pack of things that maybe some people will like it for realistic type use cases. If you are an architect, these are based around real measurements for I think 20-foot containers. I work in metric, so I had to convert it. But at the moment, the general idea is to finish what I call a proof case. So proof of concept and use case put together, which will basically be just like a small container home detailed in a way that I like. In the process of working on a proof case, you kind of tell yourself which pieces will be useful. So I'll try doing like all different splices of walls and floor pieces and maybe some barriers and stairs and stuff like that. Then once the proof case is done, I'll deconstruct it. And it may also be possible that this never gets finished again, but it would be a nice one because I'm kind of working under a mindset nowadays where I've been doing this for a while, but I don't really want to rely on anyone else's assets. I don't think that's a bad thing, by the way. My God, I would love to just play with everyone else's assets. Maybe I should because it'll be fun for letting me express my artistic freedom again, but I've considered it a bit of a challenge not using anyone else's assets. Ideally, I want to make my own, which includes things like vegetation. Everyone's got a vegetation pack, but I want to do one my way at some point in the future. But you know, building up libraries of things takes a long time, so you have to like pick somewhere, a starting point to start chipping off, and this is one of those points, you know, it's in the architectural field, but it's not classical architecture. It's not like modern cityscape type stuff, which there's a lot of that, you know, in the asset space. I love container homes. I don't know why. There's a complexity to them that's both simple and cozy and grandiose at the same time. So I will continue working on that. And again, like I said, ideally, it will all be somewhat modular. So it'll be easy to split things apart, duplicate the containers. In some cases, the entire container here is like a collection asset. So you can use it as is, or you can realize the instances and split them up, or alternatively I've got the individual pieces, you know, like the doors and that. And again, it won't just be useful for building container homes. I can imagine we've got quite a few people that do everyday artworks in the community, and they love this kind of stuff. You know, structural but good looking asset packs so you can just really quickly bash something together if you're only working within like a few hours or something. It's also quite fun because having architectural spatial elements like this gives really satisfying just, you know, lighting spaces, contemporary and industrious at the same time. The little bit of corrugation there. It's just a feel-good thing. So I do like the idea of this pack. Here's a little note as well, if you do like interior scenes like this, because I keep forgetting this. I swear I learn the same lessons over and over and over again. While I was setting this up, I kept thinking, I don't quite know why the light just isn't kind of bouncing through properly. I always forget to turn off the shadow ray visibility for the glass objects. Obviously, if you've got a sun object, it makes a large difference, right? There we go. God, I love that. So in a different life, I'm an interior designer or something. Obviously, there's no like interior design as such in here, but again, actual feeling from like the light and space. Hold on, what happens if I like an accent wall, mirror's edge? Always comes back to mirror's edge in the end. Like that, you know, a little seating area there. Oh, okay. don't want to get too distracted. But yeah, like I said, the point about this is that I wasn't going to make this, but this guide system I built that's considerate to the art side was like, hey, here's a project you're interested in. Just put it in front of you. Don't worry too much. Work on it. Sit down. Because before working on it this time, I didn't actually have a container object ready. I had like I-beams and structural supports like ready to accept it. I think it was also, again, part of that doing the low resolution task thing where you do all the easy stuff first before doing the heavier things. And I was like, you know what? Sod it. Do the hard thing. Actually make the container because you're going to need it. And containers are surprisingly complex things to model. Actually, I invite you to try because there are different types and styles, especially for like the front panels and stuff, and like the corrugation, as I'm calling it. The dents along the top are often different from the sides, and then the bottoms are different as well. So it may look kind of inconspicuous and boring, but actually they're surprisingly like challenging to model, especially these lifting points along the corners here, because the cutouts aren't the same on every angle. So will they be textured? Probably not, because I'm intending for these to be Blender assets, right? Oh look, I'm using my ambient grunge node on this as well, so that we can get automatic dirt effects on it. That looks nice. So they probably won't be textured. However, it depends on demand if the pack ever gets done. When thinking about things like game assets, I can imagine people would want to take them and convert them into game assets for something like Unreal. But for texturing assets, it's always a little bit weird, because if you're selling the product, you have to choose like a pixel resolution, and the style may not be appropriate for everyone. So I don't really like the idea of doing like properly baked textures for assets like this. I feel like there's a leg of work that the developers should do themselves. Does that make sense? Like, you see in a lot of video games that there are asset flip games, as we call it, which is fine, by the way, like no shame. Game development is hard, so it's very unlikely that you'll have every skill set going. So you may be like great at the programming side, not so great at the art side, or vice versa. And a lot of companies reuse assets and purchase assets from other places. Even with the new flight simulator, I believe the animals in that world, they purchased the rights to use the animals from Frontier Developments, which are in Planet Zoo. So the Planet Zoo animals are in the new flight simulator. Because, hey, otherwise I'd have to spend all that time making the animals themselves, and they look great. I feel like the same thing kind of applies with assets across different softwares. For example, if I finish this structural pack of container house element pieces, I don't want to over-stylize it with textures, but I also want it to be friendly to game developers. Maybe the middle ground is preemptively putting like UVs on the objects or something like that. But hey, I'll think about it. What else was I working on in the past? So we had like I-beam elements, different types of like ducting. I should probably carry on with that. I wanted it all to be modular in the way that it was easy to snap together. Again, thinking about like everyday artists. Now, even though it's not done for the sake of just giving people something fun to play with, I'm going to put this file on my Patreon, but only under the $5 tier and above, because it is an unfinished like product, and it also means that if something happens and I don't finish it, then at least some people can play with it. So I'll put it there and I'll carry on with the project. Anyway, if you made it this far through the video, put a crane emoji in the comments so I can see if you made it this far. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.